December the 27th. And for the last month I've been radio silent. And I'm going to explain why I've been quiet. Because, well, as one of the peculiar people, I can explain everything. And if I can't explain it, I figure out what's going on and then I can. So I'm going to be posting this live on my YouTube channel and on my BitChute channel. So I'll show you where those are right now. So this is my BitChute channel. If you're interested in going over there and looking and seeing what is happening to me, because I've got a satanic cult that's in the process of murdering me. Yes, it calls itself the Province of British Columbia. It's really quite something. And I also have a YouTube channel. And here it is here, more precious than gold, and that's the avatar. INFJ, RH negative. That's my avatar, and so that's my YouTube channel if you're interested in going over there and seeing what's happening, because for the last year I have been recording the level of toxic abuse that's being done to me as I try to access public services that are not healthy for my peculiar people. No, because I'm not dealing with my kind. I'm dealing with a different kind. And so this is what the problem is, and this is why I go quiet. And so I need to set up some boundaries, because there can be a problem. Because I don't know where this is going to go, and if I start to go ham, I can't have my videos flagged, I can't have strikes, I mean, I'm not going to put up with that shit. If I have something to say, I'm going to say it, and I have every right to say it, however I deem to say it. Because I'm unfortunate enough to be in Canada, and in Canada here, we've got some rules that the public and the public servants are supposed to follow, including those who pretend to be YouTube, right? Who've let me know more than once that they're listening to what I'm saying. Well, I hope you are listening to what I'm saying. So it says here in the Act for the Preservation and Enhancement of Multiculturalism in Canada that every individual is equal before and under the law and has the right to equal protection and benefit of the law without discrimination. Okay. Everyone has the freedom of conscience. Everyone has the right to freedom of, peaceful assembly and association, and guarantees those rights and freedoms equally to all people. That's really funny because, I haven't been afforded any of those protections at all, ever. So, because how is it that I'm a woman who survived 2 acts of genocide in less than a decade? We've got forced adoption, and now I've had my in-trust private property stolen, and every dollar of the inheritance embezzled. All of it illegal. But even worse, all of it unlawful. And what the fuck? There's lawful and legal have nothing to do with each other if you understand law like I do. Legal's based on witchcraft. They don't even follow their own fucking rules. So then this fucking thing goes on, and it's like, the Constitution of Canada recognized the importance of preserving and enhancing the multicultural heritage of Canadians. Okay. And then it goes on and talks about the Citizenship Act. Well, I don't identify as a citizen of Canada. No thanks. I'd rather fucking swallow razor blades than identify myself as a Canadian citizen. For those of you who don't know what the Commonwealth is, It is absolutely vile. Vile. And then it wants to talk about the Canadian Human Rights Act. Well, I'm not sure if you have gone into any of my posts on Instagram. I'm not sure if you've gone into my YouTube channel. I'm not sure if you've listened on BitChute. I have Rh negative blood. Now, the world doesn't understand the significance of that information. Rh negative blood, science claims that that blood type has no earthly origin. I'm not a human. I'm a woman. There's a difference. This is one of the reasons why I'm not welcome here in this fucking world, right? This world doesn't like me. I'm a foreign object here. That's why my life is under constant threat. Yeah, I'm not kidding. I've tried to go home for the last year, and you know what's happened to me? I've had fucking pigs assault me and put my life in harm's way because I'm trying to go home. And they're not helping. They're not part of the fucking solution. They're part of the problem because of their hatred for me. And I'm a woman. Where I come from, you don't go around attacking women. That's just the fucking ugliest thing you could be and do. And yet that's exactly what I faced. If you've gone on, I've been recording the assaults. I have to, because who's going to believe me if I don't record what's happening to me? It's beyond persecution is what it is. So the Canadian Human Rights Act, well, that wouldn't be applying to me at all. Oh, but then it wants to talk about these international conventions. Here's one on the elimination of all forms of racial discrimination. A convention that recognizes that all are equal before the law and entitled to equal protection of the law against any discrimination and against incitement to discrimination. Right, okay, again, that's a bunch of bullshit. International Covenant on Civil and Political Rights. Okay, well, that one apparently is about providing that people belonging to ethnic and linguistic minorities are not denied the right to enjoy our own culture and to use our own language. This is exactly why I have to say this. Right, because there's not going to be... So what would a strike be on YouTube? It would be an opinion, would it not? I'm not interested in the fucking opinion of a fucking sewer rat. I certainly am not. I don't give a fuck what your opinion is. The truth is not an opinion. And my rights are not up for fucking debate. Or argument. So if I got something to say, I'm going to fucking say it. And for a month I've been radio silent. And I'm going to explain that. I'm going to explain that. I am. So if you haven't read the International Convention on the Elimination of All Forms of Racial Discrimination, this thing goes on and on and on about the right to equal treatment before tribunals and other organs administering justice. It goes on and talks about the right to security and protection by those who pretend to be public servants against violence and bodily harm, whether inflicted by, pigs, right? Persons in government, or any individual group, like YouTube, or institution. Odd, I tell you what, these pigs are not following any of this. They're not following any of it. And then apparently I have the right to take part in this fiction called the government, as well as in the conduct of public affairs at any level and have equal access to public service. Okay, well this is exactly why I'm on here doing a live. Because I have to address one of these ministries in the province here, posing as the province of British Columbia, this satanic cult pretending to be the province of BC, and one of its public service ministries that's causing me loss, harm, and injury. So this is why I'm doing this. Do I want to be doing this? Nope, I'd rather be doing something else. So then this covenant goes on. I've got the right to freedom of movement and residence. The right to leave any country, including this one, and return to one's own country. Well, that's interesting because right now there's this thing called Christmas happening. And apparently, one of the peculiar people, right, he is the reason for the season right now. Yet the world doesn't know him. The world's certainly not listening to him. Right, so he kept talking about something called the kingdom of heaven. Right. Right, exactly. Rh negative blood. Has no earthly origin. Yeah, he let everybody know he was from above. He wasn't kidding. He wasn't joking. He was telling everybody he has Rh negative blood. All the Levites do. So I have the right to stop being a Canadian citizen and going back to being a resident of the Kingdom of Heaven. And trust me, we do things a lot differently in the Kingdom of Heaven than what goes on down here in this level of hell. Oh, I have the right to own property alone. Is that right? Well, how the fuck did my house get stolen? How the fuck did my house get stolen then if I have the right to own property alone? I have the right to inherit. So again, how the fuck did all the inheritance get stolen then? Every dime. $750,000 stolen. After these fucking satanic, soulless, savage solicitors stole the house, embezzled the entire inheritance, and then helped themselves to about 10% of it unlawfully. And then they just kept it all. Because what am I going to do? Who's going to help me? Nobody. Nobody gives a fuck about what's happening to me. Least of all this ministry I'm about to fucking completely destroy. Which doesn't even exist, by the way. There's just a bunch of persons acting as this ministry. Oh, here we go. The right to freedom of thought and conscience. Right. The right to freedom of expression. And that's exactly why I'm not going to put up with a strike or a block or an age restriction on my uploads. Persons pretending to be YouTube. I've even been threatened by these fucking assholes pretending to be Instagram. Don't bother, okay? I'm not into your bullshit, because apparently I have the right to freedom of peaceful assembly and association, so if you're coming at me with your fucking opinion, you're violating my rights. And trust me. Yeah, he knows when you're sleeping and he knows when you're awake. Yeah, he knows if you've been bad or good, so be good for goodness sake. You know who I'm talking about? The one who sent me down here to fucking be a witness to the wickedness of my generation. Not a good time for me. This is a toxic environment for me. And my peculiar people. That's who we are. We're peculiar people because we have eyes that see and ears that hear. And we're not popular here. But I have a job that I have to do, as tired as I am, as exhausted as I am. I can't stay silent. That's against the law where I come from. And so it might look like it's over when I go quiet. Trust me, no. I'm just building up some strength. I'm just healing a little bit to get back into the ring. Because this is full-fledged fucking war for me down here. So who can I speak and give warning? Because we all have the same job when we get sent down here. And my job is to get everyone into, well, the bread of life, or the rivers of living water. Everyone has their name and their life written throughout that book. I don't care who you are or where you come from. Your name and your life is written throughout those scriptures. Who's going to listen? Their ears are closed so they can't hear. The word of truth, which is life, is offensive to them. They find no pleasure in it. So what's happening to me is, it happens to all of us when we get sent down here. We literally get worn out. The wicked wear us out. It's written in the book of Daniel. So this is not a joke, okay? This is not a joke. If you are of the world would love you as its own. But because you're not of the world, you've been chosen out of this world. Therefore it hates you. Remember what I said. A servant's not greater than their master. If they hated me, they're going to hate you. If they kept my word, they're going to keep yours. But they're going to do all of this to you because of the name of the living one, right? He's got names. 7 of them. 7 virtues, 7 characteristics. Written in the book of Isaiah 11:2. Because this world doesn't know the truth, right? This world doesn't know the truth, so there's no love in this world. No truth, no love. No truth, no life. So the world can't hate those of the world, but it hates those of us who are not of the world, because we're experts in testifying that the works of the world and those in the world are evil, and that's where the problem lies. That's where the problem lies. I have the rarest personality type in the world. I'm an INFJ personality. I have Rh negative blood. Science claims that blood type has no earthly origin. On top of those two witnesses, I was born under the Cancer sign. I arrived June the 28th, close to 5 decades ago. And so those are very important pieces of information because I have to use the world's information to provide testimony about who I am. And it's so true, right? Well, I'm an empath. I'm a highly sensitive woman. So sometimes you just need to talk about something, not to get sympathy, not to get help, but just to kill its power by allowing the truth of things to hit the air. Who is supposed to listen to these is going to be listening to these because I am a teacher. I'm a teacher who's trained in planting seeds of truth, and when those seeds are planted in good soil, they will take root and they will grow. And there's no coincidence that who listens to me. No such thing as coincidence. But it's true that you have to know the truth in order to see the lie, because unless you know the truth, there's no way you can see the lie. That's why solicitors hate me, because I'm way more intelligent than they could ever hope to be. That's why I don't associate with members of the BARF. The BARF, no coincidence, right? Everybody wants to hear the truth until an INFJ woman with Rh negative blood who arrived under the Cancer sign opens her mouth. Nobody wants to listen. And so scriptures confess, right? The scriptures they confess who the peculiar people are and what we go through when we're down here. So truth is, I'm sent down from above, and that's written in John, as I say there. And we're trained to preach and teach the way, the truth, and the life. So that's why we see and we know both the liar and the lies. That's why the wicked hate us and seek to murder us, is written. Because we all know what happened to my brother, right? Yeah. They ran a kangaroo court. They ran a kangaroo court on him, and they had him put to death. Because they didn't like his message. Right. It was a setup for a takedown. I'm not living, I'm surviving. And that's written in Deuteronomy and Isaiah. And that's what's happening. I'm literally drowning in wickedness of the wicked. That's what it feels like physically. Pretending to be of the world, doing your best to act like you're okay, right? For decades. It's exhausting. INFJ life, this is what it's like. You get up, you survive, and it's bedtime. My full-time job is looking after myself right now because, like I say, 2 acts of genocide have been leveled against me by members of the BARF and the province of British Columbia, and it's corrupt as fuck courts here. First the attack was on me and my son, and now the attack is on me and my spouse. And I have been left with less than nothing. And they never had a case both times. So how can that be? What's going on here? So cancers are helped to quit everyone else, but when we're going through something, we pretty much go silent, right? That's why there's been no posts for a month. Because basically, we're targeted people, right? Peculiar people are targeted people. Targeted to be murdered. Through any and all means necessary. There's very little I haven't been through and gone through. So physically, mentally, and emotionally, just fucking wiped out and exhausted. And so when it gets really bad, we isolate, right? Because there's been about 18 phone calls in the last, few weeks that have come to my phone, and I'm not picking them up. I can't. Okay, who the fuck is on the other end, right? And if I'm not prepared, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, and physically, to talk to some fucking idiot, I fucking can't do it, right? Because there's no help. That's why I record. I record and then I post on YouTube and on BitChute some of those calls. Wow. It's not that I don't know how to ask for help. It's just that when I do, right, it's just shit and abuse. It's fucking gaslighting. I disappear. I do that sometimes. So cancers, right? When they feel down, they shut off all communication with others. So don't expect, you can call, but if we're not picking up, and it's the same thing on Instagram, right? I used to engage with those who would leave comments and whatnot, and I kind of stopped, right? Well, I did a full stop because I got attacked by Instagram. Persons pretending to be Instagram, I should say. Please don't take that personally. I'm not ignoring you. I just have a very limited amount of energy, and I really am damaged, like I'm severely damaged by decades of trauma, which is why I'm doing this. Because you have to understand, right, for decades I was being told that there was something wrong with me, right, that I was the problem. Right, I'm a mess, right? No, I'm not a mess. I'm an empath in a wicked world. And yeah, there's rivers in the kingdom of heaven made up of my tears alone. I live in the house of mourning. I always have. But along with the crying, there's laughing. Sure there is. Listen, they can't steal my sense of humor. I've got a bomb-ass sense of humor. Always have, because I'm paying attention. So situations that are charged with conflict drive the normally peaceful INFJ into a state of agitation and charged anger. They tend to internalize conflict into their bodies and experience health problems and under a lot of stress. Yes, that's right. That's exactly right. I have decades of testimony of that happening to me where I can't move because the environment I'm in is toxic. Cancer and anger, 3 stages. First, we're going to go quiet as a warning. And if that's not noticed, there'll be another warning by shrouding our growing rage in a form of and passive aggressiveness. And then in the final stage, it's on like fucking Donkey Kong. And yeah, we do that. We point out every wrong you've ever done. And then some in one long session. Basically, you'll be fucking set on fire. You'll self-combust. If I open my mouth, if you're one of the wicked and you've come at me, and I have fucking had it, it's on. I'll get to that point where I'll fucking tear you to shreds with my mouth. Rip you fucking limb from limb. And then, of course, I'm going to be accused of being, right, the abusive one. No, but we're going to get into that in a second here. So the heart of spiritual discernment. Being able to distinguish the voice of the world from the voice of truth. Very important to understand that. Be kind to strangers. I don't have the monkey blood. I've got Rh negative blood. You don't act against the life of your neighbor. A group of humans called a no thanks. Yeah, that's right. But because this world is toxic to the peculiar people, it gets to a point where even the air around us is heavy to breathe. It gets thick and heavy. It's toxic, right? Because it's, well, the wicked are dead, right? You get that, don't you? The devil has children. The devil has children. They are the walking dead. They're fucking meatheads. They're fucking dead from the neck up. That's why they can't see or hear anything. Help, right? Like, yeah, right. Who's going to help? Targeted individuals. We're not lazy. We're not unmotivated or stuck, but it's after decades of living in survival mode. It's exhausting, right? Because that's what happens when you live in survival mode. I've been living in survival mode for 5 decades. And that causes, like, serious chronic fatigue in body and mind. We're gang stalked. What you have to understand is what Jesus had to say, because he wasn't kidding. There was a war going on between me and the same-sex parent in the house. My enemies are the members of my family. You know what a mindfuck that is? When you don't understand what's going on? It's unbearable almost. Gang stalking, right? That's what happens. It's a form of genocide. And gaslighting is just a different definition for satanic ritual abuse performed by children of the devil, whom the world refers to as narcissistic sociopaths. I know you've heard that term. We're targeted individuals, right? Organized stalking. numerous perpetrators targeting, well, the victim, and the goal is suicide. Yeah, homelessness. Well, they've rendered me homeless. They've stolen all the money. Or admission to a mental health institution. So that's happened twice. Admission to a mental health institution, not at my doing, but at the doing of the evildoers. Because they don't understand, right? Or they gaslight you. Consequences of being gang stalked that shouldn't be confused with laziness, struggling to get out of bed. Well, because you have chronic fatigue, right? Watching excess TV, well, it's a distraction from negative interactions with others. You can't work. Socially withdrawing. Well, I'm in so much pain, I'm difficult to be around. And I can't be around others unless they fit me like a puzzle piece, because I get drained. Because I'm already drained. Well, there's no neglecting the hygiene. Sorry, I'm not going there. It's exhausting to fight gang stalkers 24/7. It drains one mentally, emotionally, spiritually, and physically. That's so true. So what causes depression? Well, I mean, what really causes depression, right? Well, the opinion, right? And I don't give a fuck about an opinion. The truth is not interested in opinion, thanks. The truth is not an opinion. Opinion is based on belief. Now, I've gone in previous lessons, I've gone in and I've taught about belly, about the word belly, Belial. The word lie is also in the word belief, or believe. So you've got wickedness and lies contained in that one word. That's where opinion comes from. That's why I don't give a fuck about an opinion. No thanks, you can take it and shove it. Because what actually causes depression is trauma, abuse, neglect, bullying, grief, and loss. Excessive stress. Right? Chronic fatigue, lack of social support, where there's no social support for me. Not federally or provincially. It's just all about fucking destroying my life. Right? They don't have a fucking clue what to do. You know, that's what happens when you're dealing with children of the devil. So you get that, right? Rh-positive humans are not people. They're legally defined as monsters and freaks. But let me make something very clear. There are righteous humans. There are righteous humans. Some of them listen to me. And if you're a righteous human, you're going to be comforted by what you hear. And you're going to be tickled pink by what you hear, because it's going to comfort you. If you have truth anywhere in you, you're not going to have a problem with me. But if you're wicked, if you're a child of the devil, you'll have all sorts of problems with me. You'll have a problem with what I say. You have a problem with what I speak. You'll have a problem with what I teach. You'll have a problem with the sound of my voice. And you've just identified yourself as a child of the devil. And you're going to hell. So thank you for identifying yourself. You're a danger to society and to yourself. Warning, signs you're dealing with toxic humans. You dread being around them. Yeah, that's what happens to me. Yep. And you're exhausted and angry after dealing with them. Yes, that also happens to me, right? So, you know, evil humans are toxic to my people. They cause us chronic trauma, right? And trauma impacts health. If you don't understand why I disappear, because children of the devil are poisonous to... Well, children of the devil are dead, so they're poisonous to the living. What do the living and the dead have in common? Nothing. There's nothing. They have nothing in common. And so that's why I had to try to explain. This is why we're not permitted to be around children of the devil, because they're poisonous. And the general symptoms of poisoning, well, all these symptoms I experience around children of the devil. When my son was kidnapped and I dealt with covens of children of the devil, I was being poisoned to death, and so was he. He still is being poisoned. He was sold. At 8 years old, he was sold. It's called forced adoption. It's legally defined as genocide. When they came to steal my house, well, who the fuck would do that? Well, children of the devil. Poisonous. Poisonous. And I experienced all of these symptoms Pretty much all of them. Most of them. The majority of them. Toxic environments bring out poor behaviors in even the most patient of people. Survivors of psychological abuse find themselves behaving in ways that do not fit their normal personality. This shift can serve as a red flag that the environment is unhealthy. Okay, so that's really important because I've had individuals come on my BitChute channel and make comments. And I'm a woman that reads between the lines, so, I mean, I do have the ability to know what you're thinking. We have that ability, that's why we're peculiar. Right? Study my brother's life. There's 4 Gospels. You can study his life in 4 Gospels. It explains exactly who he is and exactly his abilities. He knew what they were thinking. Well, how the fuck is that happening? Well, because we have eyes that see and ears that hear. We know who you are. Whoever you are. Whether you're good or not, we know. Because it's only one or the other. You're either one of the living or you're one of the dead. There's no fucking in between. There's no gray area. So I've had them come on and make comments about me, right? I guess, obviously sounding crazy or sounding, or going ham. Well, that would be why. Do I sound crazy to you? Do I sound mentally unstable? Emotionally unstable? You have no idea what I've been through. None. Thank God you don't. Because you got to have a backbone of steel to get through this. Well, it's a pressure cooker of persecution, right? The fucking shit doesn't stop. Effects of abuse. Let's go through it. This is what I experience. I experience weight loss to the point where I look anorexic. But I'm not anorexic, I'm eating, but it's because I'm being literally eaten alive by the children of the devil. Fear of speaking up. You see, that's a problem, right? Because that's exactly what the abusers want. They want to silence you. They want to bully you into silence. Right? Depression, well, chronic fatigue, right? We just went over that. Social anxiety. Yep. That's what I experience from the effects of abuse that I'm dealing with. So how does the stress affect the body? Well, anger, depression, irritability, lack of energy, yep. Heart, yes. Skin, yep. I can get eczema. Intestines, right? Reproductive system, joints and muscles, aches, pains, inflammation, tension, tightness, immune system. It leads to high levels of inflammation, right? All the stress, how it affects the body. So I'm in an environment I don't belong in, right? This is a strange environment to me. So that's why my whole life I've lived in fight or flight. It's an extremely stressful environment here because it's no truth, no love, no life here. 9 warning signs: you're mentally and emotionally exhausted. You're easily irritated. You feel completely unmotivated. No patience. You start crying unexpectedly. Yeah, that's what's happening to me. And here's what's even worse, right? They've got all these fucking... Listen, when you're a public servant, you have no rights. As a public servant, you have duties, responsibilities, and obligations. Now let's take a look at this one right here under the Canadian Victims' Bill of Rights. Now, I'm a woman who survived 2 acts of genocide in less than a decade. So let's see what it says here. Begins with the preamble that victims of crime and their families deserve to be treated with courtesy, compassion, and respect, including respect for their dignity. That has never once happened. There's not one pig who I have dealt with who has followed their duties, responsibilities, and obligations to treat me with courtesy, compassion, respect, and respect for my dignity. Not one. Not one. Yeah, I'm dealing with the hamster wheel of heathens. Right? They just fucking go around that fucking circle, right? They're fucking clowns with circular thinking. Children of the devil. Right? So my trauma's valid. I've been going through this for 5 decades, and only for the last year have I started uploading to the public my testimony, what I'm experiencing here. There's 5 decades. of shit and abuse I've put up with. And though it's just the tip of the iceberg, what I've shared so far. Even if others experience worse, even if someone else went through the same experience and didn't feel debilitated, even if it could have been avoided, even if it happened a long time ago, even if no one knows, my trauma is real and valid and I deserve a space to talk about it. It's not desperate or pathetic or attention-seeking, it's self-care. It's inconceivably brave. And regardless of the magnitude of my struggle, I'm allowed to take care of myself by processing and unloading some of the pain that I carry. Because it matters. My experience down here matters. And my healing matters. And nothing and no one can take that away. Chronic trauma. Chronic trauma refers to experience of multiple traumatic events. They may be varied. It might be like familial violence, an accident, or becoming a victim of community violence like I have been and my family. Chronic trauma is damage from long-standing physical abuse, neglect, and war. Well, every time these fucking pukes come at me with what they call a claim of action, right? The abduction of my son and then his trafficking, and now the theft of my home and the embezzlement of all of the inheritance, that's war. Those are acts of war. There was war going on in my home. Yeah, chronic trauma. Chronic trauma represents cumulative effects, that's right. Each new event reminds me of prior trauma and reinforces the total negative impact. Continuous trauma feels relentless and uncontrollable. Well, because I know it's not going to stop, right? It's not just caused by natural disasters trauma. It can also be caused by growing up in a toxic environment, accidents, mental and emotional abuse, the unexpected passing away of a loved one. Yes, there's been at least 2. I've shared them. I've shared some of that information. Severe bullying, yep. Serious injuries, yep. Betrayal, yep. Physical and sexual abuse, yep. Prolonged periods spent in unsafe environment circumstances. Well, this world is unsafe for me. Symptoms of trauma. Hypervigilance, yes. Mistrust, yes. Chronic pain, yep. Emotional overwhelm, yes. Depression, yep. Loss of interest, yes. Numbing, headaches, lots of headaches for me. Irritability, yes. Feelings of hopelessness, yep. Because it looks like there's no end in sight for this shit, eh? The persecution. Physical symptoms of trauma. Being startled easily. I'm very easily startled. I don't like noise. Racing heartbeat, yes. Aches and pains, yes. Fatigue, yes. Edginess and agitation, yeah. Muscle tension, yes. Having trouble functioning, yes. It takes all my energy just to take care of myself. Plus I've got fucking wars going on that I'm the only one fighting. Severe depression and anxiety, yes. Well, there are no relationships in my life. They've all been destroyed by the wicked, on intentionally, by the way. Experiencing flashbacks, yes. Avoiding more and more things that remind you of the trauma, right? So I have to go back down to 850 Birdhead Avenue. That's where the whorehouse is. That's where the acts of genocide had been leveled against me and my family, and I got to go down there and I got to undo what they've done. I'm not gonna fucking roll over and let them get away with this. Are you kidding me? It's not who we are as peculiar people. Violent crimes cause irreparable symptoms of trauma. Yes, they do. Cognitive, behavioral, physical, psychological. Yep. I mean, listen, I don't need a fucking physician of no value to tell me what the fuck is wrong with me. Thank you very fucking much. I understand. Thank you. Oh, didn't I tell you our names? We have virtues. We have characteristics as peculiar people. So I don't know if you've read anything I've written. I don't know how many times you've listened to me, but I identify as counsel. Yeah. Counsel. That's one of our virtues. I'm special prosecutor. Sent down from the kingdom of heaven to prosecute the wicked. Yeah. So to be chosen for that position, you have to possess counsel, fear of going to hell, knowledge, might, or strength, truth, understanding, and wisdom, or you're never going to be asked to do that job. That's how it is we know the lie from the truth. Those characteristics. Those are the 7 virtues of the King of Kings, right? The one who rules and reigns in the kingdom of heaven, right? Jesus spoke about the kingdom of heaven repeatedly. That's what he was down here to do. He was teaching the mystery. And the only thing you should be interested in is making sure you're going to get into that kingdom. Because otherwise, what are you fucking interested in? Right? Go to Bible Hub and punch in Kingdom of Heaven and see how many times it comes up and see how many times my brother talked about the Kingdom of Heaven. Yeah, we're family members. He told you I was coming before I got here. So, I mean, just take a look at that, right? Like, mood swings, right? Confusion. Well, I'm not confused. That's certainly not a problem I have. Reoccurring stressful thoughts, yes. Edginess, yep. Aches and pains all the time. Always on the lookout for warnings of potential danger, fatigue and exhaustion, yes. Rapid heart rate, yes. Easily startled, yes. Social isolation and withdrawal, yes. Lack of interest, yep. Avoidance of activities and places which trigger memories of the event, right? Well, that would be the whorehouse at 850 Burdett Avenue. They try to pass that building off as a law court in Victoria here. There's no law being practiced in that building. Every single day, witchcraft is practiced in that building by the witches who pretend to be the court. Psychological. Emotional numbness. Well, I don't have that problem. Depression, that's an issue. Emotional shock, that's an issue. Irritability, yep. Anger, I've managed to... I'm really good at managing my anger, pretty obviously, right? Sadness, yes. Absolutely. How could I not be sad? Common reactions to trauma. Anger, anxiety, depression, flashbacks. Withdrawing from family and friends, yes. Common physical responses to trauma. Muscle tension, fatigue, headaches, chest pain, chronic unexplained pain and health challenges, yes. I experience all those. No need to go to a fucking idiot calling itself a fucking physician to know what's wrong with me, okay? Only the fucking blind and deaf need to go to somebody else. Some fucking sewer rat who doesn't give a fuck about you to tell you what's wrong with you. You know what's wrong with you if you can have any type of understanding, or eyes that see and ears that hear. Trauma responses. Fight. Explosive behavior. Aggressive. I don't have any of those things. Anger outbursts. Well, have you gone through any of my live posts on Instagram? Flight. Over-analytical. Well, that's actually not a bad thing, right? Because that's how I figure out what the fuck they're doing. The evildoers. Freeze. Now, freeze is a problem for me. Depression, isolating. That's a problem for me. Fawn. People-pleasing, that was a real issue for me growing up. Can't say no, that was a real issue for me growing up. Avoids conflict. See, that's the problem right now, right? I have to engage these children of the devil who have destroyed my life and members of my family's life. And I gotta get back into the ring, right? I can't let them get away with this. Examples of trauma responses, again, right? This is the age of information, right? I'm a teacher. I go through all this so I can teach. Well, the best teachers have been through it, right? So the best counselors have been through what they're counseling about. Freeze. Wants to hide from the world. That's the problem for me. Isolating. Yes. See? Runs away from situations, flight. Right. And this is exactly what these children of the devil, this is why they treat me this way. They understand. They understand what they do and why they do it and what it does to me. That's what they do it. That's why I've been out of my home for 3 years. Reactive abuse. Now, this is why I'm doing this, right? Because I need to address this ministry of social destruction and poverty of development that gives me nothing to live on every month. So reactive abuse. When a victim is abused, antagonized, and gaslit, and finally stand up for themselves, this might be angry words, acts of defiance, or even violence. The retaliation to the abuse. Then the oppressor calls the victim the abusive one. Reactive abuse. They call you abusive for reacting to their abuse. I experienced that when my son was abducted. Chosen immediately for forced adoption because he is highly marketable. And now I've experienced this after I've been violently, viciously removed from my stolen property during a ban on forced evictions. During a ban on forced evictions, I was violently, viciously removed by children of the devil, left homeless and destitute, given nothing to live on. This is why I'm doing this live post. So one strategy that abusive savages employ in psychological abuse and manipulating the one that they're abusing is to claim the victim is being abusive towards them. There's a certain point at which the victim breaks and lashes out at the abuser. Yeah, I'm going to show you. Reactive abuse, they call you abusive for reacting, right? Victim blaming. Victim blaming occurs when victims of crime, trauma, or wrongful acts are held responsible for the things that are being done to them. This diverts the attention away from the perpetrator where it belongs. So your reaction to unspeakable abuse does not make you the abuser. Everybody understand that? So be reassured that survivors out there, that your reaction to the heinous abuse inflicted upon you does not make you the abuser. No. You have to know and understand that crying, shouting, screaming, and swearing are perfectly normal responses to being horrifically abused and repeatedly pushed to the breaking point. Listen to me, I'm trying to survive in an insufferable environment, and I'm not going to show any of these abusers any mercy. No, that's weak. That's weak. That's mental illness, that, acting like that. The abusers and their shills, aka flying fucking monkeys, will pathologize and leverage your completely normal reaction to an extremely abnormal situation with fucking glee. Yeah, well, in my culture, we purr to evil from among us. And I will be enjoying my culture here. You fucking rights I will. Victim blaming. A devaluing act that leads to ridiculous statements and questions and marginalizes the victim, making it harder to come forward and report the abuse. This allows the perpetrator to keep abusing victims while avoiding accountability for those actions. Reactive abuse, right? Well, you know what a narcissist is. You have to know that. It's a child of the devil. That you don't change them. You can't rehabilitate them. You can't fucking reprogram them. Listen. No. That's not the way it works, man. Fucking stop. Stop with all of that. There's no amount of fucking counseling or fucking medication that's going to change a child of the devil. They're born that way. They're born compulsive fucking liars. You only need one fucking brush. You only need one fucking brush to paint the children of the devil because they're all the fucking same color. Understand? They're all murderers, thieves, and destroyers. They're all compulsive liars. You know, they're all fucking cowards. They're the unbelievers. They're the vile. They're the murderers. They're the sexually immoral. They're the witches who are practicing magic arts. Those are barf members, by the way, and politicians and priests. They're the adulterers and they're the liars. There you go. See what I just said? You need one brush. They're all the same fucking color. Color me fucking blind. Color me deaf. Right? Color me a fucking circular thinking fucking clown. I saw them constantly when I went down to the fucking whorehouse at 850 Burdett Avenue, fighting for my rights, fighting for my property, not to be fucking destroyed. No shit. Let's see here, what's going on? Pathological pukes are going to do anything to get a reaction from the one that they're abusing and bullying. Sometimes they're going to antagonize you so fiercely that you're going to end up losing your cool and then start raging. That's when they point the finger at you, accusing you of being the abusive one. This can happen so often that the victim starts to feel like they're abusive as well. Everyone has a limit. And some of these savages can blatantly overstep boundaries in such a way that it pushes the victim to fight back, to keep any resemblance of self-respect. Narcissists use that to try to convince you that you're the problem and you're the one that's crazy and abusive. Don't let that confuse you. You're reacting to their fucking abuse. You're not the abuser. Have you gone in to listen to these fucking conversations that I've had with the pigs around here? Those who are pretending to be Saanich Police Department? They do that to me. Yeah, they can't understand what I'm saying, being that they're all liars. Beware of abusers. Using Darvo. They deny responsibility, they attack you, they reverse roles of the victim and the offender. Right, abuser, aka child of the devil. For a child of the devil to abuse and further exploit a traumatized victim, intentionally provoking the trauma wounds, is such a disgusting form of abuse. It's a whole level of evil on its own. It's demonic and it's evil. That's right. So let's see here what I'm talking about, right? Because earlier in the year, on April the 13th, after I had made a phone call to the Ministry of Social Destruction, Poverty Development, I had recorded the call. Right? I recorded the call, and then I played it in a live post on Instagram, and that's what you're seeing. That's what you're seeing on the screen right now. The Instagram live post, where I play the recording. So what I want to show you is, not sure if this is going to be able to see this or not. 2 weeks later, see this, is this going to come in? 2 weeks later, I'm getting a letter from the Ministry of Social Development and Poverty Reduction, that's what that means, from Vernon Avenue in Victoria here. There's my name. And here's the date. It's like 2 weeks later. It's at the end of the month. This letter, I'm not even going to open this fucking thing. I'm not even going to read it to you. It's so disgusting. I am being accused of swearing at one of the public servants who was abusing me. And that's not what happened on that call at all. So not only did whoever sent that letter not sign that letter, I just explained to you what they're doing to me, right? They're abusing me, and I'm reacting normally to being abused by that ministry, who, by the way, is one of the ministries responsible for me being forced into prostitution against my culture, my will, and my conscience. I was raped repeatedly. I was infected, defiled repeatedly, because that Ministry of Social Destruction and Poverty Development refuses to provide the basic living that they have to provide, which is why I've spoken to them multiple times. Right, because every month they're stealing from me. Yeah, every month. So I've spoken to them before. So here is me speaking to them in September. This is me speaking to them in September, and I'm explaining to them, okay, here's the deal. You're breaking the law, right? You're fucking completely lawless. You're stealing. You don't go and act against the life of your neighbor. That's unlawful. Because you realize that 1 in 10 residents live in poverty in BC, and that the annualized income for those of us who do need some help, for whatever reason we need it, it's 50% below the poverty threshold. BC has the worst poverty rate in Canada. You gotta be fucking joking. And why is that? Well, it's because it's a lack of social spending. Because the province of British Columbia is a private for-profit fucking pyramid scheme. It's got nothing to do with serving the public. Every fucking dollar they make by racketeering. They make it all by force and by fraud. And not one of these fucking pigs at the trough right now is doing a fucking thing about it. So that's my job. My job is to do something about what they're doing. So look at this thing here. This is the head hog. This is the head hog here of the Ministry of Social Destruction and Poverty Development. And yet they call themselves, they try to pass themselves off as honorable, but they are and they do the opposite. So what kind of fucking sick fucking shit is that? It's the definition of fucking mental illness. It's the definition of fucking, you clearly need to be checked. You need to be checked, and you need to be checked by a righteous woman. Right? Because you're not listening. And how many fucking months am I going to have to tell you the same fucking thing, and you've still done nothing? And it's not rocket science to fix this at all, right? Because here, I mean, it took me no time at all to do some research to put this PSA together. You've got the average cost of living in British Columbia at $2,000 per person, right? The average cost of living is $2,000 a month per individual. And get this, get fucking this. This is just, it's beyond nauseating. In 2020, the satanic cult trying to pass itself off to the province of BC, they generated revenue of $64 billion. So $750,000 of that was the embezzlement of my inheritance, leaving me homeless and destitute. You just need to know that because I was forced from my stolen property in 2020. It's been 3 years I've been homeless and destitute. And not one of these fucking pigs has lifted a finger to do anything pertaining to law and justice for me. Not one. So how the fuck is that social development? But it gets worse. It gets even worse. This is the age of information. Nobody should be in the dark about what's going on here. It gets even worse. These fucking pigs, they lie about how much money is in the trough. They lie about how much fucking money is in the trough. They claim to have 1.3 billion in surplus, but no, it's actually 6.5 billion in surplus. It's actually worse than that. If the Auditor General is saying that the surplus is 6.5 higher than the 1.3. So that puts it at 7.8 billion. 7.8 billion, but you've got homeless, you've got poverty-stricken individuals who can't get by. They don't care. They don't fucking care, right? So, and hoarding is a mental illness for those of you who don't understand what mental illness is. And listen, I come from a kingdom where we don't have any fantasy or fucking fiction there, okay? We don't fucking play make-believe where I come from. There's no such thing as the BC NDP. There's no such thing as the BC Liberals. There's no such thing as the BC Greens. There's no such thing as the fucking province of British Columbia. There's no such fucking thing as the Ministry of Social fucking Destruction and Poverty Development. There isn't. There's no such thing as the BC Court. No. It's all made up of fucking humans. It's all made up of heathens. Yeah. What the fuck is this? What kind of fucking place is this? This is the fucking Twilight Zone? There's no such thing as the BC NDP. Get that through their fucking skulls. That's a criminal coven of narcissistic, antisocial, arrogant ape abominations who hate their neighbors. And they identify themselves daily as vile, unfit for public service, clear and present danger to the right-minded, righteous people unfortunate enough to be living in the wicked West. What's going on with the middle class? So how much are the middle class making? Well, they're making between 55 and 100K a year. That's what middle class is in Canada. Because you do understand blood types, right? You get different species, don't you? You get Cain and Abel. Cain was the creature, Abel was the man. Adam and Eve were men and women in the Garden of Eden, right? Adam means man. And then what came up to Eve? Well, it was a human.